greeting ye fine scholars and welcome to San Diego. But I'm actually not here for San Diego. No. I'm here for my California. See, I was born in California. And even though I've not been able to spend a lot of my life here, it does feel like home. And you know what? Why shouldn't it? It's a land unlike any other. It's probably the only land in the world that could produce something as messed up as I am. An endless inspiration for artists. A landscape that changes by the mile. God damn, it's good to be home. I was determined to see my home too, my California, before we'll get to that. Annoyingly, as photographers tend to do, I brought more than a few cameras for this trip. Starting off, we have my old trusty and reliable Canon AE1, rocking that Helios 44 58mm f2, as well as my Super Takumar 28mm f3.5. Medium format isn't left out here though. I did bring my Mamiya 6 Automat. Yeah, look, I get it. Probably none of you know what this camera is, but you will come to appreciate it, just like I have. And then let's talk about the little digital elephant in the room. I do have a Digicam, and I did bring it. It's the Kodak Easy Share. We'll talk about it a little bit more later. I also wanted to give my little San Diego adventure a bit of a theme. So I will only be shooting cinema films. Those, of course, are films designed for motion pictures, but have been cut down and re-spooled for stills photography. I got into San Diego a little later than I usually do, so I decided to break out the old night photography knowledge. I loaded the AE1 up with some Rito T800 and equipped my Helios 44. Even though this first shot is actually with the Takumar 28. Hot damn, look at this shot. I was really worried too, because to get the proper exposure, my shutter speed had to be pretty slow, but everyone just stood in their places perfectly. Photography gods must have really blessed me that day. Maybe it's just me, but I really love this shot. I did also see two groups of bikers, both digital and analog. Out of the 24 exposures I got on this roll, 4 of them are keepers and, oh come on, you already know which one I'm putting in my portfolio. Jason from Grainy Days started doing this. With the end of each roll, he would go back and kind of rate what he got and looked at the numbers, and I think it's a really good exercise, so I'm going to be blatantly stealing it. The next morning I really needed some fuel, and there was really only one natural choice. Spill the Beans Coffee. In my opinion, it's the best place in San Diego to get a coffee and a bagel. Whenever I'm there, I always get their cheesy bacon bagel and this incredible white truffle cream cheese spread. And they don't hold back on the spread either. Come on, I know your mouth is watering now. My Helios lens that I talked about in, just a couple of videos ago is an original Helios, the ones designed for the M39 mount. Of course, I rehoused this one for an M42 mount, and I really wanted to keep that silver body look. However, the downside is whenever I'm in the sun, this thing could take down a goddamn 747. San Diego's convention center has some really good architecture to it, and I was rocking some Cinestill BWXX. Yeah, you already know I made a video about that too. Any self-respecting architectural photographer would mark this place as a priority when coming to San Diego. Look, I know this sign says Apex Expo, but in my head I prefer to read it as Ape Expo. Sadly, there were no apes there. So it's at this point I kind of have to come clean with you. I lied. I did it again. It's almost like I do it in every video. It's actually almost like all of these videos are taken from different times and I'm putting them together in an artificial timeline. And you'd never know because the way that I set them up narratively, why would you? Anyways, that doesn't happen. I brought a third lens, the Super Takumar 135mm f3.5. I had just seen an Ivan Chow video about doing street photography with a 105, and I really wanted to give it a shot, and I'm not good with it at all, and I didn't like a lot of the shots that came from it. But out of the 4 keepers of the 36 exposure roll, 2 were shot with the 135mm, so maybe I just need to get used to it. Try it again. These 3 are above keeper, but not quite into portfolio range. Potential portfolio pieces, possibly, but they're still good shots. Balboa Park. I went here for the first half of that Helios 44 video, but I did bring the Mamiya 6 loaded with some black and white goodness, that BWXX, so I would have something to show in this video. Okay, what the fuck. I messed up. Big shock. See, the Mamiya does not focus by moving anything in the lens. Instead, there's this little backing plate that slides over the film. To find focus, it actually moves the film itself. And I didn't lock that back plate in place all the way. I do actually kind of like the 2 shots that I got out of it though. Kind of reminds me a lot of Todd Hido's work. So just because you've been good boys and girls and non-binary folks, here's a couple shots from that Helios video. You know, if you're too lazy to go watch it yourself after this one. Hint, hint. It was day 2 already. Fun how time keeps moving forward on you no matter what you do, especially when you have something really big coming up soon. Believe it or not, I had a second roll of Cinesto BWXX in 35mm and I decided to go walking around Seaport, a tourist area that's usually not my vibe, but what the hell. Also, when I take photos, especially street stuff, I tend to have music playing. So if anyone's interested, I was rocking 3 playlists for this trip. A Post Malone one, a Chumbawamba, and a Shaggy. Now that might sound like a completely cursed combo, and you can blame it on me, but we all know you've got a mouthful of shit, and hey, it wasn't me. Okay, real question. Who told this horse about film prices today? So, this whole Digicam thing. Am I just hopping on a trend? No, of course not. I am the trend setter. I've actually had this camera since dinosaurs have walked the earth. All the way back in 2014. You can believe such a time existed. I went to Italy and brought this little guy with me. I knew less than nothing about photography at that point and still managed to get a couple good shots off with it. I was always told I had an eye for photography. You know, whatever the hell that means. I guess they were right though. So in essence, the Kodak EasyShare was my very first camera. I dug it back up now, years later, as a professional and was actually kind of impressed by it. I didn't know what I had at the time, but you see, this thing did Fuji before Fuji did Fuji. That's right, this completely average-sized camera has 14 megapixels in it and does Kodak film simulations. The most notable one, of course, being Kodachrome, but they also have Kodacolor, T-Max, and the original Ektachrome formula. So that's right, shove that up your X100Vs. This roll of 35mm BWXX was going to be my worst performance in a long while. Your mom can tell you I deliver excellent all the time, but for this roll I only got 3 keepers and 1 portfolio piece. Some days I guess you just really don't feel it. It's almost like I'm getting nervous about something. Anyways, I headed over to yet another tourist trap, Old Town San Diego. I didn't learn my lesson the first time, so I tried again with the Mamiya 6 and even more Sinisto BWXX. Hey, I actually did it right. Look at that. I also had the Canon AE1 loaded with Rito T200. Fair warning, if you've seen my Rito video, hint, you know that I don't really like this stock. This portrait shows one of my biggest switches I've made in my photography. I really work now to try to incorporate people into my shots. Not posed, but just doing what they were doing in a day-to-day life. It's an interesting switch from somebody who only a few years ago pretty much just wanted to shoot abandoned buildings, but hey, I still like that stuff, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like cheap college tequila. You don't really remember a lot of it. Also, like I said earlier, this was the trip that I busted out Rito's line of films, and you can find that video right up at the card. Hint, hint. The medium format roll of Sinisto BWXX gave me some good results. Out of the 12 shots you get with a 6x6 like this camera, I got 4 that were keepers and 2 that I heavily debated putting into my portfolio. You know, there was a point I considered giving it all up, getting this little storefront and setting up Devin's Wild West old-timey photos. But I have something else I need to do. I specifically wanted to see my specific ocean. Wait, before I head off to my next chapter. The Mamiya 6 was looking a little dry, so I went ahead and loaded her up with Sinisto 400D.
California, where do I start? feel so near. Oh, California, all senses clear. I'll be alright. We should have lived a life together in your warm sun.
Out of the 25 exposure Rito T200 roll, I got 5 keepers and a portfolio piece, surprisingly. On the Mamiya, there's 4 keepers and a portfolio piece.
It's in the air, can't you feel that good times are coming on? California, all this time. Now I'm at the end of the line. Just another hill to climb. California, then you'll be mine.
Yeah, there's no getting around it anymore. What I've been hinting at all video, other than go watch my other videos, it's that soon after this trip, I would be hopping on a flight to Eastern Europe with the intention, of course, to head to Ukraine, covering Russia's genocidal war against the people there. Matter of fact, that's where I'm recording this from now, Kyiv, Ukraine. For the foreseeable future, a lot, if not most, of my content will feature around covering this war and, more importantly, the people who are forced to live in it. I'll still be talking about cameras and films, and probably a lot of those videos featuring places or locations in Ukraine will come out before my bigger, hard-hitting journalism pieces do. I'm looking forward to this, but God, it was fucking nerve-wracking to get here. I'm glad I'm here now, though. Slava Ukraini.